What's going on? It's the mainstream. We're back. I'm so excited to be here. I hope you're here. We got a great show. We got none other than head of operations with us at zenGate Global. Theo, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be back on the mainstream. It's been a few shows that I've missed. Uh,
We're
I
glad we're
was
back together again.
I was observing the whole show from the outside, and I'm just so happy that you guys were kind enough to invite me back.
I'm glad to have you back.
You see
And
how I throw everything back to you like it's
I
your
know,
fault.
like,
It's great to be here. I'm very excited for this one, and I'm really excited to talk to Adam as well.
yeah, it's going to be a great show. So, we're going to be talking about a variety of things, right? We're going to touch on everything, mostly DAOs, you know, decentralized autonomous organizations. We have a lot of information to touch on that. We're going to talk about Summon platform. We're going to probably touch on base on the RNC and the DNC here in the United States. Adam's been all over the place doing all kinds of amazing things, both inside the Cardano ecosystem and just in crypto and blockchain in general and Web3. Adam, how are you, sir?
Hey, Brian. Theo, doing great. Great to be here with you guys.
We've talked a lot, me and you, right? We've had many interviews together, but I think this is the first time that we've been on video together. So it's a little different, right?
Yeah, a bit different. Unfortunately, everybody gets to see my place, so I hope you can deal with that.
I rented
But
this
this is,
place just for
yeah, it's a nice Airbnb. I can see that back there.
thanks. So, Adam, we're going to just kind of jump right into it, right? Like, I know a lot about you. I know the crowd, some people in the crowd will know a lot about you, but I know there's a lot that don't, right? Can you start by just telling us a little bit about your background, your career path? And I know that you have a PhD in education, excuse me, education policy studies. Can you just kind of like tie that all into a little conglomerate and let me have it?
Sure. So I got my start in blockchain and crypto back in 2017. I was writing my dissertation. I was working on, like I said, education policy. My department was education policy, organization, and leadership. I was specifically in the learning technologies area, doing my dissertation on learning management systems. So, Blackboard, Canvas, how students, get their course materials. I had this friend who was a penny stock trader. He started talking about crypto stuff, and he's like, "Dude, you got to check out this crypto stuff. It's so hot right now. You can do this on the side while you're writing your dissertation." And I was, oh, I need to procrastinate from writing, so I decided to check it out. And to my own detriment, I kind of dismissed Bitcoin back in 2014. So I remember hearing about Bitcoin in 2014 and thinking to myself, this is the kind of stuff that I would be into, and I need to like get beyond that and get a real job, so I shouldn't worry about that. But I started looking into various blockchains and got some Bitcoin, got some Ethereum. I discovered Charles Hoskinson's video, "The Future Will Be Decentralized," and thought, oh, I got to check out this Cardano stuff. This is pretty cool. And researching this, and I saw the entire market crash, and it was just like it blew my mind that within a couple months, the entire valuation of the stuff would crash. And my buddy told me, there's this crypto stuff, there's not really anything to it anymore. I'm going back to penny stocks. But as I was, going through Reddit, going through these different forums and stuff, I saw there were still people building on it, right? Still a lot of people really excited about doing things with this decentralized ecosystem. And I realized that that's why I got into learning technologies. I hadn't been so much interested in students, like just accessing their course materials. That wasn't why I was into, education policy or learning technology. I was more interested in the way that students would build things together. In fact, that was like what a lot of my research had been on was student collaboration and, like forming communities together. And so again, a lot more procrastination on my dissertation. I started following a lot more communities, reading the Cardano forums, attending my own local blockchain meetups here at the University of Illinois. And yeah, I was hooked. So once I completed my PhD, by that time I was working as a learning technology specialist, and it also had some side gigs doing like learning technology consulting. But I was getting more and more into the blockchain space. And so around 2021, I started like investigating DAOs and this concept of decentralized autonomous organizations, and the way that people can actually write code that automates the decision execution process. And I met up with the guys who were into a DAO. And actually, Brian, you're one of the people who pointed me towards this, because I went to Cardano over coffee, and you were like, yeah, there's these guys in a DAO who are like working on this technology. And so I met a few of the people there, got to know Riley really well, who wrote the first DAO script on Cardano, first DAO treasury on chain. And that's pretty much what got me in, sucked me in, and got me going.
Yeah, you know what? I've talked to so many people over the course of the past. They all blend together. But now that you mention it, I remember that, and I actually had kind of forgot about playing a role in that, and I'm glad that I did, because you guys went on to build a DAO and do some amazing things, which we're going to talk about, right? But I want to talk just kind of a little bit in general here. You hold multiple roles, right, at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign: teacher assistant professor, disruption and innovation scholar. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, so like I said, when I completed my PhD, I was working as an e-learning specialist, doing learning technologies, and I was actually doing that before the pandemic. So my job was to make sure all the online courses were set up, and to do consultations with all the faculty members to make sure that they understood how the courseware worked, and how to, come up with great techniques for engaging their students. 2020 hit, and well, we'll just say things got a little bit wild. I was putting entire conferences online. Like, we would basically they had planned to have a conference at a hotel in Chicago, and now I was spinning up, I was getting together student assistants and spinning up 50 different live sessions for people. So I got a little bit burned out. Luckily, I'd had some history also moonlighting as a lecturer for the School of Information Sciences, and that's where I had done my my master's degree. So I basically was talking with them, and I said, "Hey, if you guys want me to teach more courses, I would be really interested in a full-time position." And they said, "Yes, we actually have an opening for it's a non-tenure track position, but it might be something you're interested in, because instead of having to be publish or perish, on the tenure track, you're actually more focused on teaching, more focused on working with students, and more focused on spreading knowledge through alternative methods." Things like maybe going on podcasts and telling people about how this information works, or doing things like publishing a report on governance parameters for a large blockchain ecosystem. These are the kinds of things that I can point to and say that as a scholar, I'm contributing to our field of knowledge. So it's really exciting to, have then been accepted into the School of Information Sciences as a teaching track professor. So I'm teaching assistant professor right now. I had a year where I had a fellowship with the Disruption and Innovation Unit, where I worked with them on exploring DAO concepts, and also helping to plan out the blockchain. They had like a blockchain summit that I helped plan sessions for, worked with the organizers of that. So that was a great gig, doing that for a year. So that was a Disruption and Innovation Scholar position that I held. And for the past couple of years now, I've also been one of the advisors for the Illini blockchain RSO. So it's great working with all those students on all the blockchain stuff that they're working on. There's several organizations on campus, but this is the sort of campus-wide student organization for everyone who wants to sort of cross-disciplinary come and look at blockchain.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and to know that there's so many like college students that are involved in blockchain, right? And people that are younger than my old. I'm old. I'm old. So like to see the younger generation picking up the blockchain and this technology and trying to move it forward, I think is a great thing. Um, some of your topics that I was researching, right? So identity system, online communities, decentralized technologies. Why? What made you like really attract yourself to that? And what what's the drive? What's the why? Tell me what the why is, Adam.
Yeah, for me, it's all about finding your place, right? Finding your place in the world. It's all about finding your tribe, I guess you could say. I feel like we're at this point in, maybe it's too grandiose to say, but we're at this point in history where um, the old systems are kind of breaking down. You look at the book Bowling Alone. It talks about how all these civic organizations that we used to have are hurting because people feel like they're disconnected from their neighbors. People feel like they don't have enough in common with the people who live around them. You have churches, temples, religious organizations at all-time lows and failing. I remember my dad, my grandpa was in the Lions Club. My dad was in Kiwanis, all these other little civic organizations, and the chapters of those. This is from an American perspective. The chapters of those are like they're all merging and closing, and like spinning down. And I was in the Boy Scouts growing up, and that's also a fraction of what it once was. And they've basically started allowing girls because they're like, well, we can't get enough boys to keep our numbers up, so let's get girls too. We can hopefully double our membership, but it's just to basically tread water and keep going. And it's all because I don't know, I don't have it all figured out yet, but it's all because people don't feel like they belong. And so to me, if we can help strengthen systems where people can connect with each other, we can help people figure out where they do belong. And there's a lot more that goes into it, but I think that that's just one thing that will help us to sort of like reboot this sense of community where people will be able to build strong bases again and say, this is where I belong, and now I'm really going to be strong about helping others and building myself up and building others up.
And I think that's one of the things on why I even got involved in blockchain and crypto, right? Is how can we help those that need help, right? And or don't have access to things such as banking the unbanked, or what we're doing with zenGate with bringing the global market to people who never had that access before. So giving people access, giving them a sense of self-worth almost. I don't know if that's the proper wording, but
Yeah.
just helping, right? Like I've always been that type of person as a volunteer fireman. I always wanted to help people, and I think blockchain really helps people in the long run. Theo, you look like you have something on your mind, my friend.
I got a lot of things in my mind actually, because what Adam mentioned is it's quite interesting, and it's actually, I guess it touched the personal chord there. When I joined the Cardano ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem, like joined the crypto ecosystem back in 2016. As soon as ADA hit Bittrex exchange, I never looked back. And since then been lurking in the shadows, and like 3 years ago, just came up with this idea, crazy idea back then, that I'm gonna start my own stake pool just so I can find a way. I was looking for a way to become a part of a community. And again, like it's a quite interesting conversation, because there's a lot of people that can really identify with this and can be like, oh yeah, like, I feel the same way, or I used to be the same way, and I did XYZ, and now, I'm there, I'm doing whatever. But back then, to me, it was quite intimidating when I would see all those smart people talking about blockchain and the technologies and the code and the nodes, and then like, what's all that? you know so there's two things that I wanted to really touch on. Number one is that it's education. It's so important, and it's so underrated, that it's not even funny of how underrated education is, um, because same as governance, it's not the sexiest thing in the world. We're not talking about prices, we're not getting rich within an hour, and stuff like that. But this is the work that needs to happen in any new industry that comes around, if you want people to to get into this industry. In order for somebody to open the door, they need to know what kind of door that is, and where they're heading at, and what's the purpose, what's the reason of opening that door in the first place. So education is definitely one of the things that, even back then, and I still feel even now, even though we have a lot of people that are really trying to educate their local communities, or bigger communities and whatnot, there's still a big lack of this, and most likely there still will be in the coming years, because again, people don't find this a sexy topic to talk about. The second thing that I wanted to bring up was, again, through my personal experience, I was, like I said, quite intimidated by the others, the smart people. And I was like, how can I be a part of a community when my background is in cooking? I've been cooking for 15 years. I can make pastries, I can make some good proof of steak, barbecue, and whatnot. But at the same time, I was still looking for a way to, become a part of a group of people that had the same values with me, and try and learn with them. And this is where I feel that the Cardano community is really succeeding in, is that everyone has well, not everyone, but a good chunk of people, a good portion of the community has actually, open arms, and they're very helpful, very friendly, and they really want to, at least point you towards a direction that you should go, or, according to the things that they know about you and the things that you want to accomplish. So this is where, like, I really feel that, a DAO, or tooling for a DAO is so important, because, and again, speaking through personal experience here, when I set up my own stake pool 3 years ago, I can't even believe it's been 3 years, but anyway, it feels like it was yesterday. 3 years ago, you would find that people would, feel the connection with me, at least, again, talking about personal experience here, because I would post, some really nice looking food or pastries or whatever the case, and like, oh, we like food, I'm a foodie, let me join, your pool. But at the same time, joining a community, because this is what people really were looking for, was to, a place that can feel safe enough so they can, be themselves, and at the same time learn. Right. So this is where, I'm going to get with my next question around the DAOs, and, how did you come up being into this, if you will, quote unquote, like ecosystem, because, it's a part of an ecosystem, if you will. How did you come up with the DAOs? If you can explain to our audience, what is a DAO, and what was the reason behind you started this with Riley and the rest of the team, of course. But I would really like to get to that, because it's very important for people to know that they can belong in a community, and at the same time have the right tools to be able to communicate with that community, to vote with the community, and take decision and actions all together.
Yeah, great question. So a decentralized autonomous organization, aka a DAO, is an entity that operates through smart contracts, and executes the decisions of members without having to have a centralized human actor. That is like the bare bones definition of a DAO. And the reason why that's so great for a community is because traditionally you have to entrust somebody to make decisions for the group and or enact the decisions of the group. So I talked about the civic organizations, that my grandfather, my father belonged to, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis. They elect a board of directors, they elect a president, they have bylaws. Those are beholden to the laws of their respective jurisdictions, and so they have some trust that those directors and presidents will carry out the wishes of the membership. And so when they say cut a check and give it to the scholarship fund of whatever organization because we've all raised money for this, they're reasonably assured that that's going to happen. But every so often, that board or the president will take the money and run off with it. That is a risk of doing business. With a DAO script that is open and auditable, and somebody has made sure that the code is not compromised, that cannot happen. If the code is not compromised, that cannot happen. That's the beautiful thing about code, is that it is logical and it does what it's supposed to do. It doesn't mean there aren't other vectors of attack by any means. There are things that can go wrong. But that's what's great about a community like what you formed, Theo. I have one of my wallets pointed at Chef Pool because I saw that and I was like, oh, this is so much fun. This is so great. This person is out there creating content that is fun, sharing recipes, sharing ideas, sharing beautiful pictures of food. I'm a big guy. I appreciate food and
Makes me hungry all the time.
I know. I tried to get better at being mindful about it, so now I can appreciate the process of making it instead of just eating it, right? But what's beautiful is that because of the infrastructure of Cardano, we have a bit of that DAO built into every stake pool. We know that you will only ever keep a certain percentage of all block rewards. We don't have to trust you with our assets. When we point our wallet at you, at your pool, you are producing blocks on our behalf as the person in charge of that aspect of our community. And then when the rewards come in, the protocol distributes all the rewards to us. So there's a script that is doing its part. And that is a DAO-like system, and that's the beautiful thing about how Cardano has already been operating this way. And so we take this now. DAOs take this to the next level. They make it so that when the community decides to actually set the parameters, the community could perhaps create a DAO that sets the stake pool parameters. And so we don't have to even worry about the stake pool operator changing the percentages between epochs, because that could be a decision of the DAO. So it's all about mitigating risk, and it's all about giving power to the community as a whole, so that the community knows that decisions will be made transparently, and that the will of the community will be executed according to the protocol.
So just kind of a follow-up question that I was sitting here kind of thinking, right? We're talking about what all the benefits of a DAO are, right? And a lot of them are great. A lot of great benefits, being part of a community, being able to make decisions as a group, right? Instead of just a single person deciding this is our path and this is the way we're going, right? But there has to be limitations, and I'm sure that there are limitations of a DAO. Can you kind of talk and touch base on what you see as limitations on DAOs right now? What maybe needs resolved? How do we resolve them? Take the floor, sir. It's
sure. Yeah, absolutely. One thing about DAOs that I see is it's hard to scale DAOs. Cardano is attempting to do this with Voltaire governance, to turn the governance of Cardano into a DAO-like system. But there are some scholars who say that your DAO shouldn't be too big because you can't make decisions among large groups of people. Once you get a group of people who are too large to know each other, it stops working. I don't necessarily agree with that completely. I think that maybe one way to look at it is that the larger the larger organization, especially when you are talking about organizations like DAOs, become, the less nuanced your decisions can be. So like if you look at like the Uniswap protocol, Uniswap has a DAO that governs its protocol features. Most people involved in Uniswap don't have anything to do with the DAO. In fact, even the people who have Uniswap tokens will often delegate them out. Like, A16Z honestly controls most Uniswap tokens, or at least, the lion's share enough. But they delegate them out in order to make sure that others have a voice, and for other reasons that we don't need to get into. So that people can experiment with governance and others have a voice. Because ultimately, if like one person is running the organization, one group is running the organization, it sort of like lessens the incentive for others to be involved. But like, what does Uniswap really govern? Well, they govern what gets listed, right? They govern what the fee structure is. They govern how much money gets paid out for development, and that's about it. They don't try to fine tune their governance. Meanwhile, if you look at some of these like investment club DAOs, you can have groups of like, and this is kind of more popular in like Ethereum. You have groups of like 25 to 50 people where each of them bring like 25 to 50 ETH, and then they make a treasury, and then they go out and they buy a bunch of Bored Apes, or they buy a bunch of NFTs, and they're like buying and selling and trading, and they have collective knowledge over like what tokens they want to trade, because it's an investment club. And those kinds of DAOs are also very successful, but in a different way. And I would say that those kinds of DAOs definitely don't scale. Like, you couldn't have that kind of an investment DAO if you wanted to have like 200 people involved, because those 200 people would never be able to agree on what to invest in, and do it fast enough for the market to respond. That's kind of, but then you look at, but then that's why Uniswap, Liquid, on Cardano's side, things like that, are DAOs that are more of a granular, nature, or I should say, like more general, if that makes sense.
I couldn't even imagine trying to make an investment group with 200 people trying to figure out what to invest in. I would think that there would be some fist fights probably going on somewhere along the line. You brought up Ethereum a lot, right? But you and Riley and a bunch of others got together and you built something on Cardano called the Summon platform. And the Summon platform is pretty interesting. And I think a lot of people need to take more advantage of what you guys have built, right? This tooling that's out there, and being able to bring that into projects that they're building and bringing the community decision to the community, right? So can you talk a little bit about Summon platform and what you guys have built, and how people can take advantage of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So the Summon platform is a project that emerged out of a DAO. And it started because we knew that Liquid Labs and M Labs was working on the Agora DAO scripts. The Agora DAO scripts were, meant to mimic Governor Bravo. That is like the Ethereum style DAO scripting, but I mean, it's meant to mimic the way it works in terms of allowing governance, but it is completely rewritten so that it works for Cardano, of course, because the dreams of having an automatic port from Solidity over to Plutus is not happening, at least anytime soon. When we saw them working on that, we said, hey, this is something that we could build around. And ADAO had also already designed the Roundtable app, and we also thought like, well, we can also offer a more robust multi-sig option, because Roundtable is meant to be extremely decentralized. We've been asked before, like, how many people use Roundtable? The answer is we don't know. We intentionally don't know because we don't want to keep track of who's using it. Roundtable is set up so that when people access that website, they can have a peer-to-peer multi-sig experience and run their multi-sig treasuries without any interference from us. The volunteers who keep that running for ADAO do not keep track of any of the transactions. They don't keep track of the access. They don't even keep the signatures when somebody wants to do a signature. So what Summon Platform was designed for was, well, sometimes you want to have a little bit of sacrifice of this decentralization. I know that some people are going to get nervous when I say that, in order to allow for convenience while still making sure that you are secure enough that your assets are not compromised. So with Summon, we started with the idea of having communities where communities can come in, they can establish a presence on Summon, and then you can have your multi-sigs for your communities, so that you can establish a multi-sig treasury where you can have, for instance, an account derived from, let's say, 5 different people using their public keys to create a new account for a treasury, and then 3 out of 5 members of a community have to sign a signature, have to sign a transaction before that transaction is valid to go out on the network. So if you have a treasury of 10,000 ADA, you can only transfer out ADA from that treasury if 3 out of 5 people sign the transaction.
And as somebody who had a project called Cardano over Coffee with a treasury, thank you for Roundtable, because we took advantage of it as a multi-sig, me and Epoch, and there was a couple others. We had multiple signers for anything that needed to take place if something needed to be paid. So it was very helpful because I didn't have to trust myself with not spending the money or on something, going to buy myself some candy because I'm hungry, right?
Yeah.
So that
absolutely.
tooling was very helpful in the beginning.
Yeah. And you probably have had experience with Roundtable of having to, once you sign it with your own key, having to copy your signature and send it to the next person.
Yes.
With Summon, we actually save that signature in our database for you. So we don't have a copy of your key, but we do have a copy of the signature, so that when the next 2 people come to sign, we can help you combine them, and then you can submit the transaction. So that's the first advantage a community has on Summon. The second advantage is they can do snapshot style voting, and that's something that within Ethereum are separate applications. So you might be using a multi-sig treasury on one application and then using a snapshot vote on another application. With Summon, we decided, hey, we should combine these for the Cardano community. So you can have perhaps a snapshot style vote of how should we spend the treasury. And then once the community has voted, so you could have everybody who holds some of your Cardano over Coffee coin, perhaps if you have a token for that, votes on a issue, and then you go and spend tokens, or whatever project wants to do this. Then the trustees in charge of the treasury make the spend. They can do that. So that's the second thing we have is snapshot style voting. But then the third option is, once the Agora scripts were finally complete, we were able to add that third component of an interface to an interface for the Agora scripts. Because what Liquid Labs and M Labs wrote was just the primitives on chain for these scripts, and so that you could work with these scripts. They didn't write everybody who wanted to work with these scripts had to make their own custom interface. So Liquid has their custom interface. Other big projects have their custom interface. But if you're just a small project starting out, you can come to Summon Platform and you can use Summon Platform for our interface that we make available to the community.
Yeah, Summon has been very helpful throughout the time that I was with Cardano over Coffee, just with treasury management. So if there's anybody out there that has a project and you're looking for assistance, Summon Platform is definitely something that you want to look into. And I know from experience and just knowing you, right, that the whole Summon Platform, the governance thing, has really led you into the community governance you have a lot of research and experience that you've put in on different community governance and DAOs and decentralized systems. How do you feel about Cardano governance and the path that we're taking? I would love to just kind of get your thoughts on it, because you do have all this experience and research, and you've been head over heels into this since I've met you in Cardano however long ago, right? So I would really love to just kind of get your thoughts on the whole community governance and the way Cardano is going with 1694.
Yeah, thanks. So with the Chang hard fork coming on very quickly, we're going to be implementing CIP 1694, which will introduce community governance for the Cardano network. So for anybody who isn't aware of this, basically when Cardano was first started, the three Genesis entities, which were IOHK, now IOG, Emergo, and the Cardano Foundation, those three entities were in charge of running the network. And so they made all the software updates, and they ran all of the block production. And then what was it, about 4 years ago, almost, I think it was like 4 years ago yesterday, they started the community block production, so that community stake pools would then take over the block production, and stake pool operators all came online. So then they had the so then it became where the three Genesis entities had the Genesis keys for making updates to the network. So you had to have an agreement between at least 2 out of 3 of these organizations on to how to update the software for the node. But the blocks were all being made by stake pool operators that were chosen by the ADA holders. And the stake pool operators had to actually voluntarily upgrade the node software provided by IOG and ratified by Emergo and or Cardano Foundation in order to update the software. So that was actually the beginning of community governance. A lot of people are like, we're finally moving to community governance. I would say that actually we've been in a state of community governance for a while, but your community representatives were your stake pool operators.
You know what? I've never thought of it that way, Adam. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't never really cry. I mean, I've been here since that time. I've been a part of all of it, and it never really kind of crossed my mind that really that is the point that we went into community governance, when stake pool operators really took over the network, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's like basically the stake pool operators kind of had like a veto power. They had as much power as Bitcoin miners, I would say. So the current state right now is stake pool operators have as much power as Bitcoin miners. And so in Bitcoin, you have this, like tension between Bitcoin miners, and when I say tension, I mean a good tension between Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin core developers, between developing something that the miners and the users want, and then the people who actually use the protocol. But CIP 1694 says, well, there's more efficient ways to do that. We need to actually not let just 3 companies decide how to update the software. We need to let the community take the lead. And that's like something that I think is very necessary for the long-term success of Cardano, but also very scary. Because if we screw this up, we're going to kill the network. And I like to talk a lot about how we have second mover advantage to Ethereum, because we get to see all the mistakes that Ethereum made with creating a smart contract network, like going with the account model instead of UTXO, having not having native tokens the way we do, native assets. Cardano has a lot of advantages from looking at where Ethereum made mistakes. And while it's taking us longer to get the market share, I think that Cardano has some superior qualities to Ethereum that in the long run could serve it very well. That being said, if we in Cardano screw up true community governance, someone else could come in and have second mover advantage. And yes, I know that Polkadot also has tried this, and they've had their own issues, like giving $2 million to random influencers to shitpost. But we're doing this at a scale that I think has not been done before. And so it's very dangerous, but yet very exciting, because if we get this right, it really could be the first, you know, like digital nation of people who are coming together to create something that is truly governed and the roadmap is set by the community.
And I just want to touch on something that I mentioned a little bit earlier around education and how not sexy that is. I guess governance gets on the same category, because to the point that you just made, it's so important. There's so much money, right? That are on the line here, or on the stake, and we have to make sure that we make this right. But at the same time, as important as it is, not too many people are actively participating. It's different when you like a post on a social media platform and you make a comment, or you will repost it and you'll make a quote retweet that is gonna engage farm everything. Great. But like when the time is for people to show up on these workshops, and I've been a part of some of the CIP 1694 workshops here in Vancouver, it's a totally different conversation. It's a totally different world. Like I thought, and like just speaking always from personal experience, I'm like, oh yeah, I know a lot of stuff that are happening in the community. I get in this workshop, I'm like, whoa, okay. Like I knew the people, but like the stuff that we were talking about, I'm like, damn, like this is serious. This is a serious like conversation, and obviously that's been happening for quite a while in different cities with different people, with different teams, and whatnot. And I feel that still, like up to today, people don't really understand the importance of it. So I really just wanted to point that out, because it's very important for all of us. Like we all need to take a step back and like just like figure out our priorities here. Okay, Nike is great. Any other meme token that's out there, it's great. Any drama that's happening on a day-to-day basis, pretty much on Cardano, it's great, right? But we really need to make sure that we focus on, these really important things that will set the foundations for, for the ecosystem and the next generations to come.
Yeah, and if I may, I think that what's really going to make this succeed, though, is that we do have those groups that are bringing people together for other purposes. I don't think that Cardano can succeed if we just have everybody saying like, I want to be involved in governance, and governance is going to be like we all need to be into Cardano governance. Like we all should be aware of it. We all should be engaged and learning about it. Yes, absolutely. And I've been criticized before for sort of joking about how like governance should be boring, so that people don't have to pay attention. I say that like half facetiously, but what governance should be is it should be about like people saying like, how am I going to like have my community fit within Cardano, if that makes sense. So one thing I do want to touch on is like, there's not just a Cardano community. There are, Cardano is a community of communities. And so like, even like Nike, like such a fun thing to see emerge, because it's this community of degens who just like had a great time with the pig. And who knows, they're setting up a group that wants to keep it going and try to make a formal project out of it. And I hope they do well, and you've got the Hosky community, another coin that advertises itself as being worthless, but it's an established community of people who are like, really have a message and an advocacy on Cardano. You have Disco Solaris, you have Chef DAO, right? And like, you guys can, we can have all of these communities that can have a part of Cardano, and then each community can have its own representative that not only goes to Cardano governance to say like, this is what my community needs and how we think, like how the members of my community want to see Cardano proceed, but they also come back to their community and say, hey, I was talking with the people of this tribe in South America, or I was talking with people from this nation in Africa, and they said that they need this, and that if we connect with them on this level, they'll be able to sell us this, market this good that is unique to their region. We should support that too. So I think that that's just going to build the connections that will lead to really effective governance.
Boy, we got some things in store for you guys in DAOs.
That's okay. That's gonna be another conversation. We're gonna do another podcast for just specifically for the Palm DAO and what we're planning on building and doing with it. I just wanted to touch, one more question around the DAOs, and then I want to touch a little bit on the RNC and the events that you've been there. And I know you've been making some really big strides and waves. But just to close the DAO topic, could you just tell us some of the communities or projects that right now are using Salmon platform, the tooling, and that they're I guess you would like to highlight so people can just understand a little bit more of the variety of things, and I guess different projects and communities that could actually benefit from the tools that you guys have built and keep building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've been really had a great relationship with Disco Solaris. They do some great things on the platform. Voting, we love working with the Disco folks. We've had some great engagement from the Hosky community. They've done votes. A few months ago, they did Charles Hoskinson promised Hosky that he would let the community name one of his bison, and so they had a vote to decide among all Hosky token holders what they would name this bison. I personally was rooting for Proof of Stake, but they went with just calling it Hosky, which I thought to be very unoriginal. But
the Hosky community can never get it right. They can never get it right.
No, but I guess the Charles can make sure it goes to 0. So that's going to be good. And then one of the most active groups, probably the most active group, would be Scat DAO. So Scat DAO, if you know them, they smart contract audit token. They are always looking at different projects to try to see how transparent is this project, how auditable are they, and so they will encourage people to do research on projects, and then they'll have votes to ask the community what do you think about these different projects, and what do you think about different issues within the audit token community. So if you hold audit tokens, you can go to Summit platform, and I would just encourage you, go check out the Summit platform, summitplatform.io. The secret shortcut is smmn.app. That gets you directly into the app. And you can check out the verified communities, or you can click on the checkbox to show all the unverified communities as well, that anybody can make, because we try to make our system somewhat immutable, so that anybody can put a community up there too. And yeah, just check it out for yourself.
I just want to say really quick before we hit the next topic, Scat DAO team, amazing people, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be, or I'm hoping that they're going to be at Rare Evo again, even though I won't be there. I know Brian and Dan
come and Scat DAO team,
the rest of the team. Yeah. Make sure you guys. Yeah. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to them. Amazing people, and I think this is the most important thing for anything is to be to be able to speak and connect with people that are good, and that team is definitely one of them. And I just wanted to give a big shout out because they're quite near into my heart. I love them.
So we're gonna get off all the lovey-dovey stuff that Theo has. Shout out to the Scat DAO team. They are a bunch of great people.
That's why they're not inviting me on the mainstream, because I just
too much lovey-dovey. We're gonna get into the thick of it, Adam. We're gonna talk politics. Oh my God, politics. lot of things going on in politics and cryptocurrency and blockchain and just adoption in general. You recently have been working, and we're at the RNC. I believe you're going to be at the DNC. Can you talk about some of your experiences and what you have going on there with the RNC, and just what's the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Who's involved? How can other people get involved?
And what was the
Yes.
perception? What was the perception when you were talking to people?
Okay, so this project started over a year ago when I hosted Cullah. You folks know him from he's a music artist in Milwaukee, to come down to University of Illinois to give a presentation at our blockchain summit. And he mentioned to me, like, hey, the RNC is going to be in Milwaukee. We should really do something to teach, all these politicians and lawmakers about blockchain, because he does that in Milwaukee. He's been for years a great blockchain educator. And I said, yeah, absolutely, I'd be up for that. And you know what? The DNC is going to be in Chicago. We should do both. So we planned it out for months, and we put in a Catalyst proposal and actually got a Catalyst grant to do blockchain workshops at the RNC and DNC. So we called it Crypto RNC, Crypto DNC. And thanks for sharing this picture. This is a picture of me with Jim Harper from the American Enterprise Institute. We got to bring in some folks from, Jim's from a think tank. We also brought in a crypto investor to talk about what he was doing. Here's Representative Brian Stile from Congress, Wisconsin's 1st District of the U.S. House of Representatives. And he sat down for a talk with Coinbase. And here's the panel that I led for kind of like the more academic panel as part of the event. And we also hosted the former head of the CFTC the day before, Christopher Giancarlo, which was fantastic. He was part of a kind of a additional part of the session. We got him, he expressed interest in our event, so we were able to hook him up with our partners at Mission Comms for the blockchain sessions. So we were involved in that event as well. So that was just an awesome start to the RNC, and just being in Milwaukee, we were just like a couple blocks away from the security zone. If you know anything about these conventions, they basically have like a square mile of the city that you have to have a checkpoint to get inside of. And so every evening, all these delegates and all these lawmakers go through the checkpoints to go into the security zone. It's wild. And so we were outside of this, just outside of those checkpoints near the hotels, so that people could come to our event and listen to these speakers and learn about it. And we should have some videos coming out very soon, because the group we were working with, Mission Comms, had just an excellent film crew that we should be able to publish those videos soon. So yeah, great event. Got to just inform people about the promise that blockchain can bring to traditional government systems. And we're going to be in Chicago for the DNC. I believe that we have secured our partnership with 1871, which is a technology incubation hub in Merchandise Mart, so just up north of the Loop. And we are, I don't think I'm allowed to say the name, but I believe that we have a Democratic congressman who has been secured to come and speak at the event. And I believe I can say that we have just secured Salona Bonwald, who is a very long time blockchain developer, person in the ecosystem, former PayPal, former IEEE leader. She was actually at my workshop, my DREP Pioneer workshop in Chicago, and she's a subject matter expert who works with Intersect as well. So she's been a great asset to the Cardano community. She basically came in because she learned about Cardano. It was like, and IOG had her engaged for a couple of things, and she's gotten really excited about working with Cardano. So I was able to secure her for this event as well. So excited to be up in Chicago to also, reach the other side of the aisle as well. And yeah, you know what? If the Kennedy camp wants to throw something with us, we'll keep the conversation going. We're if the Green Party or Libertarians want to do something, we're all ears. So come talk to us. we are open to all people interested in advancing blockchain for the good of the people of the world.
Yeah, and what was interesting, right, is you had U.S. Senator Brian Stow there, right? Can you share some insight in just the interactions from a U.S. senator who knows these decentralized technologies? What are their thoughts from these policymakers? How do they feel about it? Like, what's your experience when you have these conversations with them?
Yeah, he's a representative. But I'm sure.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure he won't mind the promotion.
Sorry, Brian.
No, it's all good. No. No, he is. The way that these things work, he was in and out relatively quickly, but his knowledge on it was just fantastic, right? The fact that he's the head of the House Administrative Committee, and so he basically oversees like the way that the House of Representatives is run on like a daily basis of like all their housekeeping, for lack of a better word. The fact that he knew the way that blockchain systems actually work, that he could talk about how a transparent and immutable ledger could be used for showing the American people that the business of government is open for auditing was astounding. You know, it was just great to know that he is there talking about the same things that we talk about, right? We talk about how businesses can use blockchain to show where their goods are, how people can use blockchain to know that their payments are coming through and won't be stopped, and the record will always be there. And he's here saying that we can run our country in a way that all citizens can audit it and know the way things are being run and that they're being run properly. And he's by no means the only person in Congress saying that, right? You've got others on the left side of the aisle saying the same thing, which is really exciting. And what we want to do is just take that knowledge that those people have and keep replicating it and saying, like, we're gonna uplift you, we're gonna support you, we're going to show that you know what you're talking about, and let the American people know, so that all of the other members of Congress and all the other lawmakers, all the senators out there will take the same lesson. I'm just going to quote this to death. Milton Friedman, the economist, said, the trick is not to try to elect the right people. Because if you put the right people in power, they can't really do anything if they're stopped. What you have to do is create the environment where the wrong people are incentivized to do the right thing. And I'd love to have the right people incentivized to do the right thing. But the most important thing is just to create that environment.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and it's great to see people like him being involved and being able to understand what blockchain provides, right? Transparency, immutability, the things that are actually there, not the buzzwords that we all hear every day because we're on Twitter 8 hours a day. So it's really great to hear your experiences with them. Hopefully, when you do the DNC, you maybe give us a little recording of how it went down, and we'll talk, and I'd be interested to find out how that reception came from the other side of the aisle. I don't really have a political affiliation, so I just want to know how every side takes it, right? And then how can we get them to understand what it is that blockchain can provide to the greater United States as a community, right? So absolutely. I think this has been a great conversation. I really have enjoyed our time, Adam. We're going to be working together in the future a lot more, I'm sure of it. Theo, it's always a pleasure having you here, even though you only said 10 words, I guess. Well, maybe more than that, but we'll let it go.
I behaved myself. I made sure that I'll behave myself so you can call me back again sooner than later.
We'll have you
I just
back.
wanted to say.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, Adam, keep doing what you're doing, my man. There's a lot of people that see your hard work and might be on the sidelines or and whatnot, but just keep doing the good work. I know it's hard. I know there's a lot of people might not really care about it, but they will care when the time comes. And when the time comes is when all the hard work, the day-to-day consistency, showing up, even if it's hard, even if some days the energy is not there. This is where I believe that good things are being built and it will come out later down the road. And I think what you do and what other builders in our ecosystem do, it's one of them in their own category and industry. I think it already shows. What's going on with ICC, and the whole governance on the Cardano community. I think things will only get better. So just please keep showing up. We appreciate everything you do, and we are very, very excited to start working together in the next month or so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Adam, anything that you just want to make sure that the people are aware of? Anything?
No, I guess I'll just say, like, everyone, same thing that Theo said to me, keep getting out there, keep learning, keep engaging, keep doing whatever it is you're doing. Everybody in the community has a, has a role to play and has a place here, even if that role to play is just, learning whatever it is that you've read about today and imparting that to your kids, to your neighbors, and letting them know about the, great things that this technology can do. One of the great things about being in Milwaukee, and hopefully I very, very much expect to see the same thing in Chicago, is that this tribalism that we encounter on Twitter is very much a manufactured social media thing. When I met people who were Bitcoiners and people who were Solana people and people into Ethereum in Milwaukee, they were like, "Oh yeah, Cardano's pretty cool. You guys got some great stuff going on." And there was none of this like, "Oh, you're going to zero, you're a scam" kind of stuff. That's just like something that people behind a keyboard say because they don't touch grass and see sunlight. So, get beyond that. Don't worry so much about it. Just get out and build, and we'll all be great.
Get out and build. I think those are some great words, right? Theo, thank you very much for your time. Adam, thank you. Listeners, appreciate your time. Remember to like and subscribe. We're here every Tuesday on the mainstream. We have a weekly Twitter space. If you don't want to not hear on Tuesdays, we have that going on Thursdays at 2 p.m. UTC off the top of my head. That could be wrong. It could be 1 p.m. UTC. All these time zones get me going. Something that was brought up a lot during this conversation, and I just want to leave you with these parting words. Education is always something that you will own, and no one will ever be able to take away from you. You will always own the education that you put the time in to educate yourself on. So always learning, always growing. Till the next time, folks, stay palm.